Mississippi racer riding out till the wheels fall off. I'm driving that Mississippi racer riding out. We'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi racer riding out. Red light, green light, red light, good night. Hey, red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Welcome everybody back to another episode of Sideline to Sideline. I am the wire to wire Gene, and in the upper left corner, we got the Prince Production, the man that runs the ones and twos. He's chomping at the bit. He's from Integrity Sports Network. My man Kyle Edwards, how you feeling tonight, brother?
Hey man, I'm good. It's another week in the NFL. A lot of things going on, and I'm glad to be here to talk about with you guys.
Wait, stuff's going on in the NFL?
Every week is something.
I had no idea. I'm kidding. In the upper right corner, I got Mr. Taking It Deep, Mr. Birds Deep. He's THEE, GODFREY, Mr. D. Godfrey.
What's up, everyone? Glad to be talking football again. And we actually got, I think we got a halfway decent game tonight. At least it's fantasy relevant. Sometimes Thursday night football sucks. Not this week, I think.
It looks like Puka Nacua is going to make his return tonight. They activate him off of IR, full week of practice. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua make their return tonight. That's what it's looking like. Last second, Cooper Kupp didn't play last week. I think it's going to be a really good football game tonight. Really good football game tonight. Well, we'll talk about that. We got a lot of NFL conversations to get into. Let's start off with this one. The rich get richer. The Kansas City Chiefs go out and trade for DeAndre Nuke Hopkins. I can't say I'm surprised. I called this on the show 3 weeks ago, and we talked about, landing spots for Kansas City when Rashee Rice went down. I said DeAndre Hopkins makes the most sense. You have a burner in Xavier Worthy, and DeAndre Hopkins is now a Kansas City Chief. What say you, gentlemen, about DeAndre Hopkins on the Chiefs? Kyle, I'll start with you, brother.
I feel like it's definitely keeping a trend where we saw Buffalo go out, get Amari Cooper. We saw, now the Chiefs get Hopkins. We saw the Jets go and get Devontae Adams. I guess it's something that they're doing for self-preservation. Their offense hasn't been great. Mahomes has 6 touchdowns, 8 picks. Not what you're expecting from Mahomes. So they're hoping bringing in Hopkins gives him an option that, for whatever reason, maybe he's forcing it too much or whatever. Just give him somebody else that maybe he can trust and get those numbers up. Because I know Kansas City's undefeated and everything like that, but it almost looks like their margin of error is like razor thin. Like they just aren't executing offensively, and this is them trying to address that. Like I can't hate on them for that because they're looking around like we can make improvements. That's what they're trying to do.
Godfrey, what do you think about DeAndre Hopkins now in the Chiefs?
I think it's not going to be as impactful as people think.
Okay.
I think that they're going to bring him in, and it's going to help draw attention away from Travis Kelce. I think they need to do that. I have to question if Nuke is nuked, because I do remember a time when he was quarterback proof. Meaning he would still get some production whether a quarterback was bad or not. I've seen him play with some slop in Houston when he was there. And I'm not talking about Deshaun Watson, I'm talking about when he was hurt. I've seen him play with some slop, in Arizona at certain times. I've seen him play with some slop this year. And I just wonder if he can get off the ball like he used to. I don't know if he's going to have the Devontae Adams effect where he takes the jersey off and he's miraculously healed, or it's Father Time catching up with him. I think he's still a serviceable receiver. I think he could help the team. I just think some people in the fantasy world, more specifically, think that this is going to be like wide receiver 2 type of territory on the team, or 1. He could ascend to 1. I'm not so sure about that. I would temper my expectations until you see it. We'll see. I'm excited for it, and I do have him in a dynasty league, so I would love for me. I would love to be proven wrong. I would love for him to go nuclear in a good way. That would be amazing for me because I'm fighting for the playoffs this early already. But I don't know, man. It's a fair question to ask. I'm not so sure how impactful it's going to be.
TJ Hawkinson's out for Thursday Night Football. He's going to return next week. So the Vikings will be getting a little help there. This is an interesting game tonight. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But I want to talk about the Lions wide receiver, Jamison Williams. He was banned for a performance-enhancing drug again. However, this is one of those things that's being, what would that be called? It's being contended where he is not. It's Adderall. It looks like it's ADHD medication. It's not like it's steroids. But your thoughts on Jamison Williams and the 2-game suspension? It looks like he will be facing. He did make a statement. I want to read it. He said, "This week I was notified by the NFL that I've been suspended for a violation for performance-enhancing substances. The news came as a surprise that I am still trying to understand. I don't take supplements or vitamins. I am overly cautious about taking over-the-counter medicine. At no time have I ever taken something in an attempt to cheat or look for an unfair advantage. I understand I am responsible for everything that goes in my body, and I have to take accountability in this instance. I have nothing but love and respect for this game, my teammates, coaches, the Lions organization, and the city of Detroit. It is disappointing to accept this suspension, and it will hurt me to be away from the team as they prepare this week. So out of respect to my teammates, this will be my last time I will address this matter. J-Mo."
He gets no mercy from me.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why.
Yep.
I take Adderall personally. Okay. I'm prescribed it by a doctor. It's a controlled substance. You have to get a prescription. Did he have a prescription or did he not? And here's the thing about that. Yes, you may not take supplements. Yes, you were very careful about it, but you weren't careful enough to check with the resources that are provided to you through the NFL to see if that is something you could take or not take. All right. I want to see the kids succeed, but this is 2 times in a row where he's gotten in his own way. In a row. Like, come on, man. Like, you had the gambling thing. Now this, you got to stop making excuses, buddy, and start taking responsibility, in my opinion. He's wasting an opportunity. And, I just don't, having taken that pill personally, if I don't know, and I'm asking a question here, if he's prescribed it because he's supposed to medically take it, and that would have to be under a doctor's care under prescription. And I know this from personal experience. So is he taking it in lieu of that and getting it secondary? And that's where he's probably getting in trouble, especially if it's on the ban list. Because Philly fans remember Carlos Ruiz got suspended for Adderall use, right? Remember that, Gene?
Yeah.
There's other players. So this isn't a new thing, man. To me, I know maybe he made a human error, but that's not. This is the second time where he's made a dumb decision.
Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of there with Godfrey. It's like, I don't know. When I see a talented young wide receiver, maybe this is overreacting, I automatically think Josh Gordon, a guy who just, it seemed like whenever he was on the field, he would wow you, and then it was like taken away from him for whatever reason. And we know Josh Gordon had his issues. I mean, based off of the answer from Jamison Williams, like, that's a mature answer. That's the kind of answer you would like to hear. But it's also like Godfrey pointed out, this is not the first time he's been in trouble. And I would like to see that if he comes back from this, whatever led to him taking the substance, he clears that out and he can just get to playing football. Because at this point, it's like the only time we really talk about Jamison Williams, it's something off the field. And he's a talented player.
Yeah, and it's a 2-game suspension, not a 4-game, because it's not an HGH, it's not a steroid. But Adderall is still listed on the NFL's drug policies. And if it's not approved by the league and it shows up in your system, obviously that's what you're going to get suspended for. Now, it is worth noting his first original suspension was 6 games for betting on college football while he was a pro in the Lions facility. So that was a double no-no. He got a 6-game suspension for that. Just 2 years ago or last year? Last year.
It was last year.
So Jamison Williams, talented wide receiver, started his career at Ohio State, moved to Alabama was the #1 receiver in the nation the year that Georgia won the national championship. Alabama beat them in the SEC title game. And it was literally on the back of Jamison Williams and Bryce Young. So, guy's super talented. It's got to make better decisions, whatever that may be. I don't know. Obviously, it seems as if you know everything. I don't know, man. I don't know why he was taking it or for what reason, but.
Well, people take it. Listen, I've had friends hit me up of like, get away from me because I need it. They take it for either better concentration. And the way the drug works is if you're taking it daily for attention deficit disorder or ADHD, right? It's to help you concentrate and stay on task and things of that nature. However, you build up a tolerance to it. So when you take it in that way, it's almost like taking speed. Okay. So you're super focused on it. So it hits you differently when you don't have a tolerance built up to it. So it kind of personally hits me. And Kyle, to speak to your Josh Gordon point, I'm a pro weed guy, but Josh just couldn't lay off the stuff. Right. And I'm not against weed. I think it was ridiculous how the NFL had a policy against it. However, you aren't showing me you're committed to your craft if they're saying, look, you can't do this if you're in the NFL. You have a choice to make. Ricky Williams walked away from the game. He came back. It's one of these things where, man, like, do I agree with it with Josh Gordon as far as what it was? No, but that you knew that's what it was coming into it. You know what I mean?
I do. We got to move forward, but in other news, what's up, Trogan? Tua is coming back this week, and he's going to be not wearing the Guardian cap. Some people think that's a big deal. Some people don't. I would love your guys' opinions on that. I think that he should be wearing it. And, I understand his thought process probably is, I don't want to put a bigger target on myself. Like I'm this guy with this Guardian cap on my head. I don't really care about that. I care about your safety, and I don't want you to get another concussion. I think that the conversation around Miami has to be, if you're playing the Miami Dolphins right now, you better be blitzing the quarterback. That is insane if you're not. But I think that they're going to be setting their offense up to throw the ball quick throws, extra protection, make sure he doesn't get hit. They're going to tell him, hey, man, we need you not to run at all. I'd be really interested to watch that game versus Arizona. Coach Jonathan Gannon is all about getting after the quarterback. We've seen that in Philadelphia when he was the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. He broke the sack record. So it'll be interesting to see. Interesting time, but Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and the Miami Dolphins team seems very, very happy to have him back after losers of I think 3 or 4 straight games for Miami. What are your thoughts on the Guardian cap? What are your thoughts on Tua's return? Godfrey, start with you. I
think you should wear it. I think it's as dumb as people not wearing helmets when they drive motorcycles, in my opinion. And I think, the thing about that is the offense is designed to make him safe. I have always felt to get the ball out of his hand quickly and minimize him getting hit. But before he got this last concussion, there were times where I saw him diving around. I'm like, why is he doing that? It's a totally unnecessary motion that puts him at risk of a concussion. And so I'm not surprised it happened because I remember saying that at least to myself 2 or 3 times watching a Dolphins game. Like, why is he doing that? That makes no sense. So to me, I think I don't think he should. But I'm all about someone making their own choice. I think it's a dangerous choice. I think it's a stupid choice. And I think he should wear it. And it sounds like he's being too cool for school, in my opinion.
It says they reduced concussions by 46%. He will be wearing the safest helmet of the standard helmets, which is the Vicus 02 Matrix ID helmet. But he will not be wearing the Guardian cap. And I don't even know if he can be in the ESPN booth. But, Sean, I hear you.
Yeah, that's.
I seen you shake your head immediately, which is why I kind of wanted to give you the floor here.
I don't get it. I knew when they first introduced the cap, there was going to be some, macho athlete part of it that some people were just not going to wear it because they thought it looked ridiculous. But then I'm watching games, I'm seeing guys who are wearing it. You're seeing offensive linemen, you're seeing safeties, you're seeing guys who know the impact it can have. How Tua sat there during that press conference and dismissed it right away, making it seem like it's not going to do anything for him. It's a personal choice. At that point, somebody within Miami, his employer, needs to tell him, you got to wear it. I don't care if you think maybe you look stupid or whatever. Do you need to see the replay when you were down on the ground and your fingers were all whatever? That's an image we don't need. That's an image you don't need. It's an image your family doesn't need to see. So unless he's all of a sudden going to become the safest quarterback ever, I don't understand this at all. And somebody needs to get to him, because it's where his career could possibly be leading to is nothing to celebrate, because there's a good chance he may take off and run despite what his coaches might say. And look at the last one. He dove into DeMar Hamlin's arm.
It didn't look like a bad hit at all. It
Right.
did not look like a bad hit at all.
So now he could go in there, he could get caught up in the pocket collapsing, fall back, seemingly innocently hit his head. And now what? I think Tua's taking a dangerous risk right now. I don't like it at all.
What does his family think? I can't imagine they'd be like, yeah, we're all for it. I don't know. Maybe sometimes, maybe as enablers around him, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I get that why he wants to play, but if you're going to play not using the cap, I did see this coming though. It's like when the NHL started making people wear helmets, they let people grandfather in, and there were some players that even into the 90s played with no helmet in the NHL. I mean, in the NHL, they're known for concussions. It's probably highly underrated reported there because it's not the most popular sport in America, but I'm pretty sure they got some CTE going on there, especially when there was no helmets. And it just makes me wonder, what's behind it? Is it financial motivation? I don't, your brain is your brain. I think they should show him videos of Jim McMahon at present day. Guys like that, right? Show him videos of guys like that who played past a concussion, and show them, maybe they need to get to him that way, because to me, to not use that cap and just brush it off. Okay. If that's the way you want to go out, my guy, that's fine. None of us want to see it, but he's making that choice. And guess what? I mean, you can't predict football. That. You guys are right. That hit where he got the concussion on wasn't even really anything.
I don't want to, at risk of staying on this topic too long. I do want to move forward. We have a lot of topics in the NFL this week. One of them being Cleveland Browns fans. And this has been a highly debated topic. Deshaun Watson tore his Achilles tendon on the field, and Browns fans cheered. They booed him when he came out, and they cheered when he got injured. Myles Garrett, a couple other Browns players went in the media this week. And guys, maybe I'm of the minority here, on this group at least. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I am, I'm actually on the side of Deshaun Watson on this. I don't think that no matter what, I don't care how shitty of a person he is. I don't care how bad of the things he's done off the field or what it is. A guy's laying on the ground with an Achilles injury, with a torn Achilles, and you're cheering him. And here's the one thing I'll call Browns fans out for even more. They weren't booing him when he was 5-1 last year. The only reason that they're playing the high and mighty and the moral side of things is because he's not playing good football for them. When he was 5-1 last year before he got injured, he didn't get booed. There was no issues there. Now that he's not good and their team's 1-5, he gets booed or cheered when he is injured. I think that's an issue. I really dislike that, and I don't like how Browns fans handled it. And if there was an outrage about this guy being quarterback, I wanted to hear about it completely his first season there. I did not want to hear about it after he's laying on the ground with an Achilles tear. Kyle, your thoughts?
I mean, it's not the image you want. Your fans cheering you because you're down and out and they're completely sick of you. It is a bit hard to separate him, the player, and him, the off-field issues, because look, there are a lot of people who were watching that game who've been watching this team, who probably don't like Deshaun Watson, and were cheering for the team despite him. So when they saw that, their initial reaction was, all right, we're going to celebrate it. Once again, I'm not in favor of that at all. I remember like the old videos where they said like, I think the Cowboys talk about like Michael Irvin like broke his neck and there were fans cheering, that kind of stuff. Like that stuff isn't cool. But the tricky part with Deshaun Watson is there are plenty of fans who have, sisters or mothers who maybe have inserted themselves into his off-field stuff and brought that into the stadium, and that was their reaction. I get the whole Jameis Winston and all these guys after the fact, like sticking up for him, even with some of that. I didn't like some of that either. Like Myles Garrett talking about he's mainly been a model citizen most of his career.
That's slippery road.
There's also part of that career where he hasn't been one. So don't act like you can't react because he's mostly been one. Because now the way I'm thinking about it, some of this could have been happening when we were thought he was a model citizen. We just didn't know. Not going to put that out there as fact or anything, but who knows? Like he didn't just turn into this one random day. The Jameis Winston stuff where he was like hyper intense with his addressing of it. Like I was just like, buddy, take a step back and calm down. It's not as serious as you're making. Like he looked like he was about to go John Wick on everybody in that room. Yeah. And I was just like, that's kind of inappropriate when you're dealing with.
That's on par for good old JMO though, ain't it?
Exactly. But it's just like as delicate as his off the field stuff is, it was never gonna, I guess, end in a certain way, in a good way. Because there's plenty of fans that are probably glad, as unfortunate as it is, that he won't be on the sideline Sunday. And it's just the way it is.
I think that offense looks significantly better with Jameis Winston this week, but that's besides the point. I don't think that you can cheer for a guy tearing his Achilles, especially when you cheered for the guy when he was winning football games for you. Don't play the moral high ground. And like, Kyle, I get your point. These guys have sisters and mothers and wives, and I get that. But let's not – I got plenty of videos of Cleveland games first 6 weeks of last year where you can see them cheering for Deshaun Watson coming out and them giving him a hero's welcome when he joined the team and they were winning football games, right? That's
a good point. That's a good point.
So here's the thing. I have mixed feelings about this, but I like the Philadelphia Eagles the game, but there was a lot of fans that weren't cheering him cheering that he got hurt. That's Gene, you know that story, right?
Yeah.
With the Michael everything. It kind of got mischaracterized, which kind of leads to the example of how I think this can on certain levels. I do agree it's classless. You shouldn't cheer when a player gets hurt. I think they were more cheering the end of the Deshaun Watson era than him getting hurt, meaning it's over, right? Because his career is most likely over. However, if they wanted to keep that religion that you're talking about, Gene, they should have did what Jim Brown's daughter did when he first got signed to the team and said, we're not going to be involved with the team anymore.
Correct.
Right? And they didn't. And so as a fan, if you're going to cheer him when he makes a touchdown for you, but then you're going to boo him when he doesn't, when he gets hurt, you're hypocritical and you're just as bad as a human being in some aspects as he is. And I just feel like you can't really, I find it very hypocritical of Browns fans to do that. I understand the emotion. I get it, and I understand getting caught up in it, but the dude got hurt. I think the players should have kind of stayed mum on it instead of trying to just put their neck out there on it. I think that was a little bit of a slippery slope, especially, that's, not reading the room and just kind of let it go away. They were classless for doing it. And they were cheering him when they were playing well. And guess what? They would have been cheering him this year if he played well too. The fact that it went bad is, and Browns fans, listen, if this was in Philly, it'd be like even a bigger story, right? I'm sorry. I always say that, but Browns fans, they have these moments. They're the reason why you can't have a beer bottle at a game anymore, right? Like they showered the field with beer bottles. This is, so I'm not surprised. They shouldn't have done that. But, I think a lot of them were also cheering the Deshaun Watson era being over. Wrong place, wrong time to do that. And you didn't know if you were in the stands really that it was a career-ending injury. So it's kind of hard for me to believe that, though. You couldn't diagnose like, oh, that's the Achilles. You're thinking it may be, and, if you were guessing, you were right. But, yeah, man, it's not cool to do that. Just let them go. Life has a way of auto correcting itself sometimes, and maybe that's what it was. But you don't need to step on it.
100%. I do have a fun topic for you guys. Last week we had some really fun games that happened. We're not going to go over as many games tonight, just the Thursday night game. But I do have a fun topic for you guys. We're about mid-season, right? About what is this, week 8, week 9? We're about to walk into. I have a fun topic, and mid-season, you got mid-season awards. And what I want to do is, without you guys knowing, I waited to do this as a whole. I have the odds up for all the awards, and I want to see how you guys do in picking out who you think should win the award and who do you think the favorite is. Is that fair? All right, so we'll start with AP NFL Comeback Player of the Year. There's 3 favorites. They're all within, $10 of each other. What would be your guesses for AP Comeback Player of the Year?
Comeback Player of the Year.
NFL. Fun topic. See how you guys do. Just going to top 3.
Kareem Hunt.
Sam Darnold's a great answer. He is number 10. That's a good bet too, by the way. He's plus 4,000. You said Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's not on the list yet.
Okay. I mean, it can't be Flacco again because
no.
That's
one is a running back, 2 quarterbacks. Both quarterbacks had season-ending injuries last year during the season, and the running back has been hurt for a couple years in a row.
Nick Chubb? Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is number 4.
Nick Chubb?
Nick Chubb is number 6. I still have not cracked the top
Burrow?
3.
Joe Burrow's got to be
Joe Burrow is number 1.
Okay. Barkley?
Saquon Barkley is not on the list. Running back that Ohio State running back is on a new team this year. He's playing pretty well.
J.K. Dobbins?
J.K. Dobbins, number 3.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay.
And number 2 is Captain Kirk.
Kirk Cousins?
Oh,
that's Kirk Cousins.
Good old, you like that. Okay.
I'm going to give you a really tough one. And if I'm not going to let this last too long because I think it's the toughest one on this list. AP NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. You should get one of them.
Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'll give you a hint. One of them was the first defensive player drafted off the board. One of them's having a very well-known season, and the other one is probably the best corner in this draft.
Quentin Mitchell?
Quinyon Mitchell is number 3.
Yeah, I knew that one because, Eagles. But thank God he's on our team.
Top drafted defensive player.
He was the number 1 in the first draft. Remember, we all thought that Dallas Turner should be the number 1 drafted defensive player when we did the watch along, and this guy was drafted an edge rusher out of UCLA. Latu.
Yep.
And then Jared Verse, who you're going to see tonight of the LA Rams. All right, Defensive Player of the Year is a little easier. I think this is pretty standard. I think there's one guy that makes a lot of sense. I think there's really good odds on somebody that's not in the top 5, which, I think you should go like $20 on Trey Hendrickson. He's like number 14 at plus 4,500. But the top 3 makes sense. They're all good teams. They're all playing very good defense. You should get 3.
I'm guessing TJ Watt.
Number 1, plus 160. He's the heavy favorite. The next 2 are tied for second at plus 600.
It's a big spread. Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett's number, not even close. Number 10. But you're on the right track when you're thinking defensive edge rushers or line. 1 D tackle, 1 edge rusher.
Dexter Lawrence.
Sexy Dexy is number 4.
Yeah, he's got a lot of sacks so far.
Great.
Yeah, I was about to say that with John because I saw him first-hand experience against the Patriots, like that dude's unstoppable. I was going to say Will Anderson.
Guys, I'm right about a lot of things. I'm wrong about a lot of things. I told you Will Anderson was generational when he came out of this draft. Will Anderson is number 3. Tied for number 2. And the other one is on the only undefeated team in the league and the number 1 defense in football.
Is that Chris Jones?
Chris Jones.
Yeah.
All right. Offensive rookie of the year. This should be very, very easy. You should got rattle these off 1, 2, 3.
Puka. I'm just joking. I know he's not a rookie anymore.
It's funny because the guys that are 4 and 5, I think, are having, I don't want to say better seasons, but more surprising seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna guess. Well, Jaden Daniels, obviously, he's gonna be in there, right?
Jaden Daniels number 1, minus 115.
Yeah.
I assume Caleb with how he's kind of come on recently.
Caleb Williams is number 2 at plus 100.
Yeah, I would take the plus money on Caleb.
Marvin Harrison is 50-1 at number 9.
Yeah, it's a whole other story.
The other one's very easy, and you're on the right track when you say Marvin Harrison.
Neighbors?
Malik Neighbors is number 3 at 16-1. Starting to get a little bit more interesting here. AP NFL regular season offensive player of the year. Remember, this is the non-quarterback award.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry is number 1 at plus 100. He's the favorite.
The non-quarterback award. Is Jay Jettis in there?
Jefferson is number 3 at plus 750. Which, by the way, I think Jamar Chase should be higher than him right now, but I get it. Jamar Chase is 4, FYI. Okay. Number 2 should be very easy.
Part of me was going to make a joke and say Lamar Jackson because he's a running back playing quarterback, but I'm not going to do that one. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably go with John, Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley, number 2. Great answers, gentlemen. Great answers. Moving up the list to MVP. Most valuable player, top 3.
You know one's Lamar Jackson.
Who is such a friggin' joke.
Lamar Jackson's 1.
Lamar Jackson is 1 at plus 195. And he should be. He's having his best season he's ever had right now.
Mm-hmm. Good thing it's a regular season award.
Sure.
He does look good though. So
number 2 is a friggin' joke.
It can't be Brock Purdy, right? You can't.
No.
I think it's Mahomes.
Sam Darnold?
I've seen Mahomes was like a favorite for several weeks, and I didn't understand it. Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is number 2, and he's having the worst statistical season of his career.
But he's undefeated, though.
Doesn't matter. Chris Jones is undefeated.
6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions is not MVP level.
Correct.
6
number
touchdowns.
3 makes a lot of sense. And by the way, 4 and 5 are right on number 3's heels.
Well, listen, they're putting Mahomes there because they're suckering people into that bet. Just they're going to bet it because they're Mahomes, right? Like,
yep. Josh Allen is number 3. John
he should definitely be above Mahomes. That's for sure.
Jared Goff should be ahead of Mahomes. He's number 4. Jordan Love should be ahead of Mahomes. He's number 5.
Yes.
So just to be clear,
I think Jordan Love's getting a little bit of a pass from people. He's turning the ball over a lot.
And the last one, and this is so. By the way, this is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. I'm going to make you guys guess the top 5 here. And and I'll give you a warning. Number 4 and 5 are disgustingly bad. I cannot fathom how bad these are. Top 5 odds for Super Bowl champion. Top 5. I'm going to make you guess all 5.
Okay.
Turn your chat off. Stop going to John. He's looking at the odds already.
I'm going to go Lions.
Number 3.
I'll go.
Chiefs are going to be 1.
Chiefs are plus 430. Number 1.
I'm assuming Ravens are up there.
Ravens are
Yeah.
number 2. That's your top 3. 4 and 5 are where it gets very
Bills.
interesting.
Bills
Who?
at 5.
Number 5, no one circles the wagon like the
Who would
Buffalo
be 4,
Bills.
though?
But number 4 is just so disgusting. I can't even. How?
It better not be the Cowboys.
The Packers, but I feel like it's not the Packers after you said
Packers,
that.
Packers would make more sense to me. The Packers are 9. They're tied with the Eagles and the Vikings at 7, actually. The Eagles, Vikings, and Packers are all tied at 7.
The Commanders, they have the Commanders in there for some reason.
Commanders are number 10, plus 2,800.
Is it the Texans?
The Texans are number 6 at minus 1,300 or plus 1,300.
Vikings have 3?
I said the Vikings are tied with the Eagles and Packers at 6 or 7, 8, 9. You guys are all, and you'd be doing the same thing I'm doing right now.
Steelers?
Nope. Number 14.
Okay.
Cowboys are number 13. Falcons are number 12. Bengals are number 9 or 10. Seahawks are number 40.
The Niners are number 3?
The Niners are number 4.
Okay.
The San Francisco 49ers.
What a
the
joke.
3-4 49ers. That is insane to me. Am I crazy to think that's bad?
Niner stands that are going to vote that or bet that.
I don't know.
It's a sucker bet, man. That's crazy because first off, they're 3 and 4. They're falling apart at the seams. I mean, Ayuk's out for the year. You know, it doesn't make any sense. I mean,
Christian McCaffrey hasn't been seen. They don't even know where he's at.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I mean, sort of you're kidding, but not.
He was going to play week 1 up until Friday.
No, he was going to play week 1. That was a San Francisco classic 49ers fake out.
Yeah.
They do that shit all the time. They're so bad with that to the point where I don't even want a Niner on my fantasy teams. Like, because I'm serious, man. Because I'm like, you know what? Ever since the Elijah Mitchell year, and that wasn't really injury, and Trey Sermon, I'm just like, you know what? I'm out with these guys. They just have bad, like Kyle Shanahan doesn't give them any details of their bad reporting, but that's crazy that they're number 4. There's other teams I would put ahead of them for sure.
I don't disagree with you. Just very interesting
Is anybody scared of their team right now?
I'm not.
I mean,
Not
they
at
look like
all.
world beaters after week 1, but that's a long way away.
Speaking of world beaters, the New York Jets got absolutely bludgeoned again. They're 2 and 5. And Devontae Adams had a spirited conversation with the team. It was his opportunity to lead after 4 straight losses. The 37-15 loss. It's funny stat for you. The New York Jets have not allowed over 35 points in the Robert Saleh era. They allowed 37 1.5 weeks after he was fired. Gentlemen, what is wrong in New York?
It's what's always been wrong. Aaron Rodgers is not that guy. He's not. Like, we got to stop kidding ourselves. You have to remember, when he won that title in Green Bay, that was year 3. That was forever ago. Since then, he brings nothing but drama. He plays like high school lunchroom where he's cool with some guys. He completely freezes out others. And my biggest issue with him going to New York was always going to be, is he going to handle that pressure when they don't live up to the expectations that New York has? When you are the Jets, you fight to be relevant when you have the Giants there with you. The Giants have a history of winning. The Jets don't. As bad as the Giants are now, like, they are more of a New York team than the Jets are. So the more Aaron Rodgers goes out there and plays like he does, like, I don't know what the Jets really think is going to happen. They're not going to turn their season around. It almost looks like a mistake now of thinking that they were a wild card team. The way that they're playing right now, they're not even worthy of that. And the more they lose, the more moody Aaron Rodgers gets. And the more moody Aaron Rodgers gets, the more that locker room is going to just start fracturing around him. Because I wonder, when does Garrett Wilson take the fall? He'll point to everybody else except his
Just
guys.
talked about it being traded this week.
And look, those are probably other teams like, okay, Aaron Rodgers is losing. Garrett Wilson's not his guy. Let's call and find out if they're dumb enough to do it.
Yeah.
Where's my damn roses? That's all I want to know. Because what I was saying last year and this year is what's going to happen when they go on a losing streak, and exactly what I said is going to happen. He's getting snippy with the New York media, and I'm like, wow, here we go. Get my popcorn. Here's the thing. Devontae Adams, if he did a motivational speech, it should have been like, listen, man, I've already lost to the Steelers once this year. It's not going to be twice in the same season. No way, guys. And, Aaron Rodgers had balls off target. There was things watching that game, and you thought, like, okay, this should energize them, right? It didn't.
It's really interesting, though, Godfrey, because they've given Aaron Rodgers every single thing he's asked for and won it.
Yeah.
He's not a leader of men, and that was my mistake. I looked at the talent. I looked at the way he read defenses, and my biggest mistake was understanding that he's not a leader of men. And I never thought he would turn on Mr. Nice Guy, Robert Saleh, the way he did. But I'll tell you this, the Green Bay Packers are bringing in Robert Saleh to be a special assistant on their defensive side of the ball. The Green Bay Packers are my pick to really challenge the Detroit Lions in the NFC. I think those two teams are the class of the conference right now.
Matt LaFleur and him are friends. That makes a lot of sense for that move. And it can only help that team. And they are playing well as a defense already, so this can only add to it.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, very good move by the Packers, and maybe a backdoor FU to Aaron Rodgers. Listen, you look at Aaron Rodgers, and he's a great all-time quarterback. And then you look at Tom Brady, and what's the difference besides the stats that makes Tom Brady the GOAT? And he's a leader of men. And that is the difference. And it shows him winning. There's a reason why Brady went to Tampa and won a Super Bowl. And I think he's the only quarterback that won a Super Bowl with two different teams as a quarterback. Am I correct?
No, Peyton Manning's done it.
All right. He's the only one that did it in two different conferences. That's what it was. NFC, AFC. But there's only two that have done it. And Peyton Manning's also a GOAT as well. He's a leader of men. I mean, and Rodgers isn't. He's
You want to hear something crazy? If Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, both in their prime, went to go to a college, there's zero chance that Tom Brady starts over Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers throws the ball more accurately. Aaron Rodgers has more zip. Aaron Rodgers is more talented. But it doesn't translate the wins the way Tom Brady translated the wins.
I think you're right about that. But it is interesting if you read up on Rodgers' playing career in college. Kind of did JUCO first, then got into UCLA. It was definitely an interesting ride for him. But yeah, man, listen, I have Devontae Adams shares on a lot of my fantasy teams. I thought it was a good pick in the second round. And when they started going with Devontae, I was like, oh man, they deserve each other though. They do. They really do. You can't be coming on the Pat McAfee show like, hey, I'm here, and then come out and just shit the bed on national TV.
Blames different people each week. That's the crazy part to me. Every week it's someone else.
He's lucky. He's not getting the full force of New York because the Yankees are in the World Series and the Mets were in the playoffs. If those teams aren't in the playoffs, they're coming off the top rope on Aaron Rodgers right now. I'm telling you, he's getting a little bit of a reprieve because the Yankees are playing for the championship.
It's really interesting. We have a big game tonight. And when I say a big game tonight, I say it because it might not be a big game in the standings, but the 6-1 Minnesota Vikings, coming off their first loss, are going on the road at the 2-4 Los Angeles Rams. And for whatever reason, this game, the spread opened at 3. It's now down to 2.5. The return of Puka Nacua, the return of Cooper Kupp. Who do you like in this game? The 6-1 Vikings or 5-1 Vikings with Brian Flores and Justin Jefferson and the resurgence of Sam Darnold, or the Los Angeles Rams 2-4? They're talking about trading Cooper Kupp. I don't know what's going on there in LA. Stafford and Cooper Kupp maybe traded to the same, whatever. Your thoughts on tonight's game? Everything tells you the Vikings should win this game. In the NFL, if everything tells you one side, watch out for that sucker punch. I'll start with this one and tell you I absolutely love the Rams tonight. Short week on the road, emotional letdown game versus Detroit. Got to go on the road. The Rams are resurgent, getting Cooper Kupp back, Puka Nacua back. I mean, you're talking about a team that just basically you gave them. I'm going to argue and say they're the best duo in the league. They're definitely top 3 or 4 of wide receivers back. Coming off a bye week, or not a bye week, that is bye week the week prior. The Rams, what is your thoughts tonight? I like the Rams to win this football game.
I feel like there's a couple of things working in the Rams' favor because the stat about when you play the Lions, you lose your next game, that's a real thing. I feel like a lot of analysts are looking at it as Brian Flores likes the blitz. Matt Stafford's really good against the blitz. So I do think that signs are pointing for a Rams victory. I just think the Vikings are the better team. I feel like if there are people out there who don't know what Brian Flores is doing with the defense, it'll be on full display, and I assume they'll have a really good night. I'm taking the Vikings in this one. I mean, maybe there are people who are just hoping for the Darnold downfall, and he has like a big turnover game that helps the Rams. I don't see it happening. I think the Vikings get it done. I think the Vikings cover. I could see the Vikings winning like by a touchdown.
That's fair. And listen, that's the logic, right? And if you don't know what Brian Flores is doing, I can he's one of the only defensive coordinators that runs 3 different schemes, and it's a great scheme. He runs cover 0, nickel double a ton. He runs cover 8, which is an inverted cover 2, in which your safeties dive down into the flat and your corners drop back. And he runs like a hybrid style cover 3, in which he takes one. It's basically he's running cover 4, but he blitzes one of the safeties and puts everybody at the line. And you have to diagnose which safety is blitzing from which area. It's so complex, and it's really messing with quarterbacks this year. He's done a great job. But what ends up happening is, and if you've not noticed this, in the last few games that the Vikings have played, their second half defense does not look nearly as good. And it's because, teams are starting to understand where the safety's coming from. They're starting to get that read. I'll go through the last 3 games so you just understand what I'm talking about. The Lions last week, the Lions scored 0 points in the first, 21 in the second quarter, and they end up winning the game 31-29. Go 2 weeks ago, you got the Jets. The Jets scored 7 points in the second. They scored 10 points in the fourth quarter. You go week prior versus the Packers. They scored 7 points in the first 3 quarters, 22 points in the fourth quarter. Teams are starting to adjust to that. Now, my confidence in Brian Flores does not change. I think he will find an adjustment to the adjustment. But your thoughts, Godfrey?
It's a tough game. When I look at it, the Rams, everybody could run on them. I mean, that every game, 163 Detroit, 231 Arizona, 137 San Francisco, 131 Chicago, 126 Green Bay, 122 against Vegas. And they beat Vegas, right? No, they lost to Vegas, didn't they?
I think they won 20 to 15.
They won 2015, yeah. So, I mean, man, it's one of those things where, like, but the other thing is you can pass on the Vikings. That's possible. So it's just like, which side do you pick here? I mean, I think it's going to be a closer game than people think. But at the end of the day, I'm going to have to go. I'm going to go with the Rams for an upset. I think the Rams could win this game. As great as Brian Flores is, he can't play for the players, right? He could put a scheme, but they have to execute. And If you're getting Puka and Cup back, I think you might see a wide receiver expo tonight. You got Jay Jettis, you got Cooper Cup. I mean, there might be a lot of passing out there, and I think it's going to be an offensive game. I think it's a sneaky over.
It'd be interesting to watch. Like, I'm looking forward to being able to see how this game breaks down. I think the Rams at home come out and they beat the Vikings. And, you go player for player, position for position. The Rams are a better roster. And, I'm not trying to be an asshole when I say this. If you didn't watch the first 7 games of the season, you go back to what your thoughts are preseason going into this game. Most of us marked this down as a win for the Rams. Most people had the Rams in the playoff. Most people had the Vikings in the basement in the NFC North coming into the season. With that being said, great coaching and players stepping up in different areas have led to the Vikings' success. They're playing great, right? If I told you J.J. McCarthy would be injured, he wouldn't play all year, Sam Darnold would be your starting quarterback, what would your thought process been going into the season as a Minnesota Viking? I want you to rewind 7 weeks ago. And I ask you guys this all the time, and I know you guys know now, but like, how many Vikings defensive players going into the season did you know? Did you even know who they were? I'm not trying to be rude when I say that, but they got a lot of guys stepping up in a lot of spots. And I think the Vikings, being a very good football team this year, I think Sean McVay and that offensive mind will be able to scheme up, an offense to be able to combat with Brian Flores. If there's an offensive mind that's as talented of a defensive mind as Brian Flores is, it's Sean McVay. So I think the chess match happens between the Rams offense and the Vikings defense. I think that you're right. I think the Vikings offense shouldn't have that much of an issue moving the ball versus the Rams defense. I don't think that should be an issue. Now, you will see Jared Verse on full display this year. Mr. Defensive Rookie of the Year for the Rams. But I think getting Puka Nacua back and Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford having such a connection with both those receivers, it'll be real interesting to watch that tonight. But I'm going Rams here. I'm going Rams in a close one. I'll go 28-23 Rams. You want to give me a score prediction, Kyle?
I was going to go, I think, Vikings 26-20.
Okay. And give me a score prediction, Godfrey.
34-30 Rams.
Now,
the total is 47.5 on this. That's a high total, I think, for this game. I mean, that tells me shootout.
I also want to bring up one more thing before we wrap up the show. The game's starting in about 5-10 minutes. We're going to wrap up here in just a few minutes. But there was a huge injury that happened this week. Chris Godwin was carted off the field with a compound fracture. Looked really bad. And it brought up the idea of, should Chris Godwin been in the game? Should he even been in the game? And I would love your take on that. Should the Buccaneers have pulled their starters? They were down 10 points with a minute and a half left. They were actually down 41-18 with like 6 minutes left in the game. They scored a couple touchdowns to make the game look a lot closer. What are your thoughts on Chris Godwin going down? No Godwin, no Mike Evans. Both receivers are out. Godwin obviously out for the year, and Mike Evans out to at least week 11. Your thoughts on the injuries that happened in that game?
I mean, I saw that kind of narrative online about pulling the starters and everything. My whole thing is, these guys are competitors. It was a 10-point game. As crazy as it sounds, it was like a minute something left. Like, you get a quick field goal, you go onside kick. Like, you still, there, as small of a chance there is still a chance. I have no problem with Chris Godwin out there. No problem with Baker being out there, because I'm not playing football to wave white flags when there's even 0.5% chance of actually winning. So if you're going to sit there and pull guys when they still have the competitive juices to keep going, that could set a dangerous precedent. So, and look, Herm Edwards says you play to win the game. If you have a chance, you compete. I wouldn't want a team that's fine with sitting down because it looks like optics-wise that we can't come back. I don't like that. Yes, the Godwin injury obviously makes everybody look at it and go, oh, he should have been on the sideline. Injuries are unpredictable. If we knew when injuries were going to happen, nobody would get injured.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. I hated it. I hated the Mike Evans part of it too. But Mike Evans was already dealing with the hamstring. He obviously saw this as an opportunity to try to help out. He tried. It caught up with him early on. He was gone. And Godwin, you just hate to see it. I mean, there's a reason why all the players rallied around him. He's obviously like a leader on that team and everything. So I have no problem with them trying to go for it. None.
Godfrey?
Me either. I mean, listen, Evans was out. They might have been shorthanded. Those guys are out there to play the game. They're not going to play scared. I thought that initially myself, but really what people are being a prisoner of the moment. They don't want to see the guy get hurt. They're like, oh, maybe he should have been out of the game, right? But that's not really fair to say, right? I mean, think about it. Like the great comebacks we've seen, how do they happen if you don't try, right? They'll never happen. If we're just going to manage the last part of the game, like, oh, it's over, like a co-ed softball league, we got a mercy rule. It's, had the comeback that Peyton Manning had against the Buccaneers that one time would have never happened, right? Like on Monday Night Football. You can't manage that part out. It's an inherent risk. It's unfortunate. Everybody feels bad for him. I feel like it was unfair for some of the reporters that had that tact with Todd Bowles after the game. And I just think it was an obvious answer he's going to give him a court. I think it was overblown. Guys, they're here to play football.
Here's the thing, Godfrey, and I'll make this very clear. Do you guys know who made the tackle that hurt Chris Godwin?
That I do not know of, Tom. Nope.
Roquan Smith. Is Roquan Smith not the Ravens' best defensive player? Was he still in the game?
Yep.
Oh, got it. Just checking.
Yeah.
Nobody would pull anyone out of the game. It was a 10-point game. Knock it off.
Yeah.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah. Great.
You play to win the game. Hello. Yeah, I think that there's 100% chance. I disagree with all the pundits that said that he should have been on the sideline. But that's all we got this week. We got a fun game tonight. Kyle, any final thoughts?
No, I'm excited for this week. Another week of the Drake May experience for me. So I'm just taking it in stride.
Godfrey, any final thoughts?
The Drake May experience. That's funny. No, man, just listen, enjoy this week 8. Enjoy this hopefully finally a good Thursday night football game, and we'll see what happens. Maybe Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua have a homecoming party, and it's back on for the Rams. Because guess what?
I couldn't have been more wrong about last week, so I'm going to be right about this week. Rams house. Whose house? Rams house. I'm Wire to Wire Gene. That's D Godfrey. That's Kyle Edwards. And for Sideline to Sideline,